Hello, this is episode 4 of the Tech for Good podcast. We're recording this on the 23rd of August 2016. And after the massive success of our guest last week, we all thought we needed a month off from the excitement, so I'm afraid you're just stuck with us. Who is us? Well, we are just some people who all work in the Tech for Good sector, because sometimes you've got to do right to be happy. Some highlights of the podcast will be rants about Futureproof, chatbots, apps for refugees, VR for autism. I don't know why I keep calling them highlights, because there's a distinct possibility that, as usual, we'll veer wildly off track and not talk about most of this anyway. Hi, thanks for listening. We're just the regulars today, and I'll give you our actual job titles this month. Head of Delivery, Ben White.
Hello.
Digital Strategist, Greg Ashton.
Hi, everyone.
Head of Design and UX, Johnny Evans.
Hello.
Partnerships Manager, Paul Jakubowski.
Hello.
And Head of Strategy and Insight, that's me, Rebecca Ray. We also have Ian Dukes here. You won't hear from him because he's not got a mic, but he has been promoted recently from Beer Monkey to Beer Tiger, just especially for this episode. Ooh, yeah, so congratulations, well done on your...
nice work, Ian.
Go get him, Tiger.
It's not as an inventive intro as last time, but I think that we're piecing things together about us here. So I like that bit by bit. Greg, what's the first topic?
Welcome to Stat of the Month. Woo. Woo. So this month we're looking at young people again, but not in a creepy way. 8% of people have donated via an app, but 1 in 3 young adults would give more if technology was available. So this is basically back to that old question of young people don't give money. What are y'all laughing at?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's a strong start. It's a strong start.
Yeah, it's the
Have you listened to the news this week?
It's so inappropriate.
Anyway, Jesus.
This podcast makes me want to curl up into a ball and cry.
Trying to work here, guys. You're all just putting me
Sorry,
go on,
you get back to work.
Anyway, so 18 to 34-year-olds, about 53% have used a banking app, but no one's making apps for charities, apparently. Discuss.
What?
Help if you listen. So
it is, right. So people give money to a bank. People do banking. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So basically, people there's clearly a sense from 53% of people that were surveyed in this, and this has got a fantastic name for a survey: appetite for donation. Clever, like that.
Yeah.
And they found that people are happy to move their money via an app, but that there's an opportunity that's being missed by charities in that they're not tapping into this.
No, okay. I'll go. First of all, appetite for donation, yeah, that's amazing.
I don't get that. Can somebody please explain
Guns
the
N'
joke?
Roses.
Oh, right, yeah.
Appetite for
Yeah,
destruction.
we got that.
I'm trying to think of a use your illusion, but with a charitable twist. So, but I've started talking, so I can only do one thing at once. So there's clearly the majority of young people are very, very comfortable with sort of using an app to manage finance. There's a feeling that this could be... What's the difference here? Because there's a load of online donations. There's a banking app.
Well, yeah, that's why we're all confused. What's banking got to do with anything? And it says 8% of people have donated via an app, but 1 in 3 young adults would give more if the technology was available. Have they self-reported this? Because you know how I feel about people saying what they'll do, because they don't know what they'll do.
I think what they're saying, the whole point of the banking app is what they're saying, and it's a poor point, so I'm not endorsing it, is they're pointing out that they're comfortable using an app for financial transactions, I guess. Okay. Would you say that that's why they put that in there?
I think that's it. I think what they're saying is there's an opportunity here for charities to take advantage of, and they should. There are obviously, I think a lot of charities kind of say, well, building apps is not cheap. You don't just throw them out, certainly if you want them to work.
But also, you'd have to download that app to donate to the charity.
Yeah.
And why would what's the reason? Banking apps, obviously, people will use because it has beneficial things for them. But what are they going to get out of downloading every single bloody charity app that they want to donate to?
They're
Yeah.
not going to. It would have to be embedding this into an existing app that you use. Nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, you know what, I'm going to donate today. I'm going to get an app and search through a directory of charities.
I think we all do, John.
It's a stupid idea. It's not going to happen. But I know we chatted briefly before this how Facebook Messenger is going to enable you to donate through that. So that's an app that people already use.
Already being used.
So
Charity Water are currently using a chat bot. They're accepting donations through there.
that's a way to do it.
Yeah, but that's using technology that already exists
Yeah.
rather than creating a whole new app.
Here's something which I know won't work, but how about a banking app that allows you to kind of donate a proportion of your income every month to a charity? In fact, that should work, because I'm trying to think in Islam there's a certain proportion of your income you're asked to donate. So, is there no kind of sort of Sharia bank out there that would have an app that would make that really, really easy and sort of select in the same way as you do with like all the other charity donations, we can give a proportion to a bunch of listed charities?
That's kind of like pay packet donations. So you can so you can assign part of your monthly wage to go to charity. So I suppose you can do that through charities. You can do it through your own organisation. So maybe it's giving people more control so that they can say, right, this month I want to do it here, this month I want to do it there.
Yeah, and definitely the best place to do that would be in your banking app.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? Do we just go to HSBC
Write
and
some
tell
letters? They like letters.
them to write them some letters?
That's the way to do it, though, and it's something that exists already that people use and are familiar with, that has a purpose outside of that, and then upselling donations.
Yeah, to go back to the stat, I'm kind of 53% seems extraordinarily low. I mean, what's the comparison between that and people who've used mobile banking within that age group? Obviously, we don't have that. I'm speculating.
No, but also
wildly.
another thing here is my bank doesn't allow me to use the banking app anymore. It chucks me out of it.
You
because
particularly. Oh,
I didn't get banned from the banking
What
app.
did you do? Did you cause a financial crisis?
did you reply to those messages?
No, they just stopped it for Android, so I have to use mobile banking. So I suppose that skews it a
They
little bit.
discontinued Android?
Yeah,
What bank is this?
recently, Lloyd's.
So they don't have an Android app
No.
anymore?
No.
I feel that's a significant
And you
market
know what's
share.
really annoying as well? Every time I go into the mobile site, it says, "Do you want to download the app?" I'm like, "I wish I could."
Why would
That's
you
insane.
Yeah.
discontinue an Android app?
I don't know. It was really incredibly
Is
bizarre.
this to do with Lloyd's having no money? Because they do share the entire infrastructure with Halifax.
I don't know.
The whole
Don't know why it happened.
online banking is exactly the same.
It was a sad day, but the online banking is fine. It doesn't bother me that I have to use online banking. I've just
Yeah.
put a shortcut to the online banking on my desktop, and it works really well. So, not the end of the world. But it might skew the stats if stuff like that's going on.
We can all agree it's encouraging when a bank doesn't have the money to continue their Android app.
Yeah, and here we are
What could
saying,
go
why
wrong?
don't charities have apps? God damn it.
Yeah. You fools. Everybody else is doing it. Oh, wait.
Shall we move on to the next section?
I think it's just the perfect time.
So, this is campaigns of the month. So we've got quite a few campaigns to talk about, mainly to do with refugees. I don't know, Greg's got a thing this month, and he's got a lot of information about refugees. Why is this?
I thought you were going to say Greg's got a thing for refugees. I was really concerned we're going to a scary place.
We ran a workshop last week with the fantastic Hyper Island about refugees, and it's been kind of on my mind recently. And also there's been a lot of press about different things that have been happening. And in this case, the Home Secretary and the Archbishop of Canterbury have launched a scheme to encourage community groups to what they call sponsor a refugee family. And the idea of this is kind of encouraging people to help refugee families feel welcome and integrate them into their communities, which I think is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's I presume it's a similar scheme. My girlfriend's dad's involved in doing this, and I think it's like an English language teaching program.
It's a combination of things, actually. So that will be part of it, but I think they kind of get help to basically kind of be it's like a buddy system.
Yeah.
Which was one of the things that came up in our workshop, which was a common theme, was kind of pairing people up so that they can not just help
It's
refugees.
the fringe benefits, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's the kind of breaking down the barriers in communication, having the person who's working with the refugee talk to their friends about it, sharing their experiences more broadly, and just removing that kind of like sense of otherness. So, yeah, I think this is absolutely amazing, and it's so obvious that you're kind of surprised it hasn't been thought of sooner, but...
Yeah. They can do everything from provide housing for the refugee families, as well as access to medical care, social services, things like that. So there's a wide array of benefits there for everyone involved.
It was interesting when we did the workshop because we planned it a few months in advance, and we had to pick an issue. So we picked Refugee Crisis, but we'd already brainstormed a couple of issues, and we were going to do homelessness because that was really hot at the time. But it's really sad that there are trends in causes, and we decided not to do homelessness because we thought that'd be naff in 3 months' time, which it is. It's naff now, and that's really sad because the problem hasn't gone away, it hasn't just been fixed. It's just that the media have stopped reporting on it. You know, whatever's happened in the world has stopped happening so much. So, but it's still there. It's not gone away. And Refugee Crisis was probably starting to get a bit naff the week before we did the workshop, but it all kicked off again in the news. Luckily, just before we did the workshop, because we were going to use the whole concept of things being trendy, like causes being trendy, as a topic, and say, well, it's not gone away, so you still need to fix it. But look, it came back into vogue.
Yeah, massively. I'd say in speech marks that it's convenient that it does keep presenting new problems for that kind of, those kinds of workshops, but obviously it's completely inconvenient that we don't seem to be able to handle it. So projects like this are great because it's still looking at how we can tackle like a massive issue.
There were some great ideas from the workshop, though. The workshop was with Hyper Island, which is a school for digital, and we did innovation. So we did some innovation exercises with them to try and help them come up with answers to the refugee crisis and solve it in 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Did they solve it? Is it all okay now?
It's all fine now, so don't worry about
good.
it.
We basically shipped them off to Syria, and they're going to stop the war.
That'd be good.
So no, they came up with amazing ideas. So they came up with digital shoebox.
That was my favourite.
That was great. That was
I named it, though.
Tell me about the digital shoebox.
This.
Tell me about this, because I was gutted I missed this.
Well, annoyingly, as with most technical things, I spoke to Matt Howarth about this afterwards, and he was like, oh, yeah, somebody else has sort of done something similar to that, but slightly differently. So anyway...
Matt Howarth is the co-founder of Reason Digital.
Yeah, and basically knows any kind of new digital project that's going on, so I was like, oh, that's... Yeah, of course he knows this.
Mm-hmm.
So their idea was people will trade in their old mobile phones, they'll get rid of them. Some of them might donate them to refugee charities, and then they'll give them to the refugees. But rather than just giving them a blank phone, why don't we give them something that is preloaded with a number of like key contacts, some apps that they can use that will really help them. Tetris.
Snake.
Yeah, Snake. Instagram.
Yeah.
Things like that. All the essentials. And then it's kind of like when you send a shoebox at Christmas with like some...
Did we all do that? Did everybody send a shoebox?
Yeah.
Oh, we used to send shoeboxes. It was lovely, and I put my address in one and a picture of myself. I was 8, and I thought I'd get a pen friend, and I did.
Did you really?
Yeah. So it went to Russia. Tanya was my Russian pen friend for years after that shoebox.
I don't think I knew Russia existed till I was about 12.
It was really sad
At
though.
your age, Paul, it probably didn't.
Because we talked for ages. We like exchanged letters as pen friends do, and then we even met. She came to. So there was a scheme in Wales where a nice family took in people from rubbish countries who were having a bad time. Took in kids.
It's got very personal.
Rubbish countries.
Rubbish.
And
Rubbish is a difficult word, but let's just stick with it for now.
Yeah.
And took them to Alton Towers because obviously that made them feel better. So we met in Chester, which was halfway between where she was and I was. I got her.
Is this what ended the Cold War?
It was.
We took
It
them
was-
all to
It's like, this is what capitalism can accomplish, guys. It's already over.
Have you been on the Thunder
We fixed it with Alton Towers. I got her a £5 necklace from Argos. It was
£5?
Elizabeth Duke's necklace.
This is the most 80s story.
and she, and she cried her eyes out because she was like, "Oh my god, a necklace!"
She
and
almost fell off her roller skates at the roller disco.
and she got me a vest,
Did they make a film about this?
and it was so cute. But then, so she went back after we'd had this lovely day. Neither of us could speak each other's languages. We just looked at each other cutely.
communicated through the medium of English roller coasters.
Yes, and
It's like E.T.
and
It
then
is.
she sent me. We carried on sending letters for a while, but the last letter I ever got from her said the
Is this going to be really
Yeah,
depressing?
It is really
whoa,
depressing.
Oh, jeez.
The army have come. So
Flying
she lived in.
striped
She wanted to be a
pajamas
vet. She lived on a farm, and she had loads of animals. And she told me about all her animals all the time. And the army come and took her away from her farm and left. They left all the animals there.
That's
And
what
she
she
now
told
lives
you,
in a
Bex.
flat in
Maybe
the
she needs
city.
lighting.
And I can't give you my ongoing address.
No.
And that was it.
What was the name?
Tanya.
Tanya.
Don't know. We were 8.
Tanya Dunno, if you're out there, get in touch.
That's awful.
I know.
That's genuinely disturbing.
Yeah. And then I became Bex. That's the point when I became
that's
who
what
I
I
am.
Is this your origin story?
It is.
Oh my god, we've just had an origin
Wow.
story.
That is genuinely
More to
haunted
come.
now.
It's horrible.
That's awful. Who's got like a fun?
Let's turn to Ian.
Who's got a
Get him
fun
on the
story
podcast.
about a Russian pen
I'm
print?
turning my mic round to Ian.
Anyone?
So we just talked about young people's experiences.
No one will remember what we
Technology.
talked about because of the horror of the story that you just told.
Well, it was sad, and I just thought I'd share it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Don't sugarcoat it.
I don't know where Tanya is
I
now.
do love though receiving like a physical letter. So like having a pen friend is awesome. I was glad when you said you met her because I was suspicious that Tanya was a real person. I was
She's
wondering-
not Ian.
It made me
Talking to
question,
chatbots.
But it made me question the whole shoebox thing for a while when you started receiving anonymous mail. But you actually met her, so now I believe in shoeboxes again.
So what's the next campaign, Greg?
Next campaign is to do with VR, which is very hot right now. We like that, obviously. And this is the National Autistic Society, who are using VR in shopping centres to kind of raise awareness about what it's like to be someone with autism. And they're giving people these headsets and getting them to experience what it's like for those people in a shopping centre, and it's called Too Much Information, the broader public awareness campaign. There's a viral film called Can You Make It to the End, which sounds like the title for a cheesy 90s horror movie.
Oh, one of your dates.
Jeez.
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah. Hey, you took me for a beautiful steak dinner.
I did.
I did leave early because very uncomfortable.
Too much information.
So this is is happening today, actually, 23rd and 24th of August, and it's in the Into Bromley shopping centre, and they'll be hosting it around different shopping centres, 15 Into shopping centres around the country. And I just love this idea. I think it's fantastic. I think VR has kind of hit a really nice renaissance where there's a lot of opportunities to use it to educate people about a lot of different things. There was a really good one at the Sheffield Dock Fest, which was demonstrating to people what it's like to have difficulties with your sight. There's been cases where they've used it to learn about how Alzheimer's affects people's brains, so they can learn more about that. And I think VR is quite trendy at the moment, but I think there's a lot of opportunity that is being learned for how we can use it to do some real actual good.
Yeah, so someone we work with, I actually think I talk about her every single episode, Jessie. We should get her on one day. She did a big bunch of research about how older people interact with technology generally, and VR there was loads of really positive stuff about VR because there's literally no interface. They can just be, and I think that's really interesting, just generally. VR's great.
Yeah, I like this. I think there's so many possibilities. There was a movie in the 90s about VR. Not the Lawnmower Man. It was later than that. But it was about experiencing something from someone else's perspective. It was quite clever. I think I'm going to say it was Catherine Bigelow, but I have no idea.
We're really bad at film
Break.
stuff.
Yes, that was it. Point Break. No, but it was the concept was
The
that
Hurt
you could
Locker.
experience someone else's memories, but you'd also kind of experience their emotions as well. And it gives you a level of empathy that you wouldn't have otherwise would just genuinely wouldn't be possible. So I'm really interested in all these VR experiences that try to actually put you in the shoes of someone else. I guess maybe it's not really a worry, but it's just more of a comment, is there are certain things that are far, far easier to experience through VR than others. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do the ones that are. But obviously, so how does the autism thing work? How would you experience that, Greg?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Without doing it,
Because that seems really difficult.
yeah, I think the clue is in the title of the public awareness campaign, which is too much information. So I don't know the exact specifics on what you'd experience when you use it, but I think obviously it's kind of going to be tied into that phrase, too much information. There's a headset used as well. Has anyone used one of the new generation of VR headsets?
Yeah, I use the Oculus Rift.
I've used the HTC Vive.
Are you going to count Google Cardboard?
I have
Because I
used Google
definitely
Cardboard.
used that, yeah. I'm well over that.
At the Sheffield Dot Fest, I used the HTC Vive on the game that was called Home, which has been developed by the BBC and a company called Rewind, which is basically kind of like Gravity, the game. So you're on a spacewalk, and I've used Google Cardboard before, and I was being a bit blasé about what the experience would be like. But when I put that on, I was with headphones as well, completely immersed.
No, but I was even surprised by Google Cardboard.
Yeah,
that surprised me.
that is
how good it
amazing.
was. So I've not used the proper one, and I assume it's amazing.
Yeah, completely. You just lose yourself in it. So if you've got a strong message, if you're showing someone something like that, they're just going to be... You're literally not going to be able to control yourself.
I do like where Ben was going with that, though. I'm just being the bad guy for no reason at all now. But you can't really... Just this whole concept of this is what it's like to be ... colourblind, autistic,
It's
all
kind of
this
like,
stuff. Dyslexia.
tourism almost. It's not a criticism, it's just, I think it tends towards a really facile representation of stuff.
Yeah.
That people can maybe put on their heads and go, you know what, I've been autistic for 5 minutes, it was terrible. It's a step, isn't it? And it's a really important step and a really interesting step, and you're stupid to criticise it because then you'd never do anything. But I don't know, I guess it always just... I temper things often in my mind with stuff like this because I think it's so complex and so difficult to represent.
Because I get it all the time with dyslexic stuff. You can see it all the time with where there's stuff flying all over the page, and I'm dyslexic, and that's not what it is for me at all. Not at all in any sense of the word. So it bothers me a little bit because I'm like, no. You're just saying that's you. Everyone's going to think now that's how I see things, which it isn't. But obviously, there's so many positives to it. I feel like a bit of a douchebag.
There was a great cartoon
for having a go
about autism, which was quite a long one. I'm sure you'll know about this, Bex. And maybe if we can post links in the podcast somehow, in the description, we'll find it. We'll post it. That was really, really interesting in terms of addressing a bunch of the kind of, the more simplistic ways of looking at it, but from... You had to read about 8 or 9 pages of comic, and that was great. And it's that level of engagement that I think you need.
Let's be honest about this, though. It isn't about kind of going, oh, look at the real life plight of this group of people or anything like that. It's about pulling on heartstrings and trying
raising
to
awareness.
raising awareness, and to get people to then go on to support, sign up to a newsletter, whatever like that. So it's not so much about kind of creating, giving them a real... It's about kind of
I've got to be cynical about one thing per week, so that's it. That's how can I relax now and have fun?
The tech is really impressive, though. I think we don't quite know what it is yet. I think we're finally at a stage where we have good VR tech, and it will get better. So ways to use it, I think, we're maybe several years ahead. I think the ability to have access to services that maybe you couldn't with VR is interesting. Whether it is autism is such a wide, varied thing where it would probably be hard to say that is an example of autism, and that is because it can affect people in different ways. But what it is what it can often be is a blocker for that individual to experience something that we could all do for various reasons. Is VR a way actually not to show us what autism is like, but to put someone who maybe couldn't go and attend something or go and enjoy something, to have them experience something from the comfort of their own home in a routine that they're used to. Things like that could be quite neat, I think.
Or that kind of like, AR, which you can use to kind of give people information and experiences that they wouldn't otherwise be able to access, and allow them to do things. Yeah, I think that's, again, no criticism of the campaign, but that's a really interesting direction.
Yeah.
I've got another story though. I did use VR once many years ago, probably when it was in its infancy, so I shouldn't criticise. But I like to, those guys that stand around, actually they're usually like cardigan old ladies, and they have like clipboards, and they're like, will you do some market research for me? They catch you on the street. I'm the person that says yes to all of that, because you usually get a £5 and some free milkshake or whatever you're testing.
I once did it and
I do it all
got
the
a
time.
hell of a lot of alcohol
It's
and
brilliant.
some money,
Dead
which
good.
was great.
Was that a legitimate survey, Greg?
Did you wake up chained to a
It
radiator?
seemed legitimate at the time.
I did one once, and they put a VR headset on me and got me, and it was a supermarket, and they got me to shop for.
So sexist, Bex. I did one where I went through a forest killing orcs, and you get to go to a supermarket.
I don't think they
God,
picked
the world
me
in
for
the
that
90s.
Well, you do know women do make all purchasing decisions in the house, so they sent me. No, they do. It's literally a fact. Don't
Yeah,
look at
I
me
do.
like that, Paul.
This is why we don't have anything at home, guys.
Wait, I make all the purchasing decisions in our house.
Just so
Feeds me,
podcast
feeds
viewers know, these guys all live together.
Still
Paul, Johnny,
alive.
and Greg
I was
all
thinking
Still
of updating
alive.
live
that,
together.
but
It's a bit weird.
How is it
I
weird?
just record them all the
I mean,
time.
They have candles and things, so it's fine. There's no cushions in
We
your
live
house.
in a beautiful home.
Yeah, I love apartment flowers, and these guys won't let me get a vase or
all about
vase
little
for our
things.
American listeners.
But anyway, I had to go shopping for washing powder. And I got shooed out because I was taking ages. But I just take ages to shop for washing powder. It's always been something that baffles me. Do you get
Even
bio?
in the virtual world,
non-bio?
you took ages.
Yeah, well, also that was more
You got shooed out in the virtual world.
Like, literally, you
like-
weren't welcome in a make-believe
Why would
world.
someone build
I
that
got
feature
banned
in?
from a virtual supermarket. I just get banned forever, guys. I'm sorry.
Good job it wasn't
Really
a virtual
did.
pub. You would have been banned in seconds.
We can only
Didn't
eat
do
at 3
anything.
places in Manchester you're not banned from. It's now a virtual world that's off limits to us. Guys, we can't go to the virtual cafe
The doors are
anymore.
already closing, Johnny.
Wait, so they've not even opened the network or whatever it's going to be called, and we can't go there already.
This
'cause
is why
you've been
VR
banned.
ended in the 90s. Bex ruined it for everybody. This is why we had to wait.
I was
We
just
could have had
shopping.
Lawnmower Man, but with less murder.
I'm just looking for some non-bio washing powder.
I love you
guys.
were that particular in a game. No, I can't.
Well,
no.
I usually buy
Where's
the
the
little,
non-bio?
the little pillows or whatever they are. The little,
You mean the pouches?
the pouches that you put in
I
the
don't
thing.
think it's pouches
It's
either. but
definitely
that
not
doesn't
a
count.
pouch.
Pouch is weird.
Come on.
It's like
pillows.
tablets.
Come on, what are
Pillows
they?
is weird.
No, they're not tablets because they're squishy.
It's not a
Yeah.
pillow of
Oh,
detergent.
come on. Pillow.
It's
What
not
are
a
they?
pillow of detergent.
They've all been. Is this like one of those muffins?
I'm going to throw sack in the mix.
No.
Without a cake. Without a cake.
Sack of
Will you pick
detergent.
up a pillow of rice on the way home, guys?
Anyway,
Excuse me, lady. Can I
move.
borrow a pillow of sugar?
Sugar isn't in pillows. I'm moving on, you guys. So we're gonna go on to the next section, which is tech news of the month. What is our tech news of the month then, Greg?
Tech news of the month. So we're heading back to the refugee crisis because, as I mentioned, it's been on my mind. But also, me and
Always on
Johnny
your mind.
were having a discussion earlier this week on our walk in to work, as we do every morning, holding hands,
we link and
skipping.
skip.
That's why I don't work with you.
It's only moved for 2 abreast of the canal.
Yeah. And we were talking about it's the Tech for Good podcast. So what we want to start doing is looking at apps and kind of having a real discussion about, are these tech for good? And there was a charity that I'd seen recently who'd released an app in relation to refugees and kind of dealing with emergency response with refugees, and this was SOS Children's Villages. And they've done this with a financial provider called Erst Group, Austrian-based financial provider. And the idea of this app is to reduce the strain on resources, prioritize where they need to be, and give people the ability to kind of say, right, okay, this needs to be here. Okay, we need this kind of resource over here. Say a refugee was going into labour, they could send out an alert on the app, and then rather than 10 agencies going to the response, I'm over-exaggerating there, but rather than a few agencies going to the response, one agency goes to responds to that, and it kind of helps everyone involved, which was something that I think had been discussed. I've heard discussions of in relation to the refugee camp in Calais being a major problem. It's something that's discussed repeatedly amongst us about homelessness, about this whole issue where
misallocation of resources.
Yeah, everyone has loads of resources, but maybe they're not the right ones. So one place might have an overabundance of...
And this is a problem, in different sectors as well. So it's the same with homelessness charities. We'll often get loads of tins of beans, and no, we've got too many beans. And some other charity might have loads of socks. So it's like, if we could just swap them, and you could have some of our beans, and you could have some of our socks, that'd be great. It's the same, I guess, in this.
It is, and I think this is traceable back to kind of BitTorrent. I think that was the first. Seriously, that was almost like a metaphorical inspiration for all these things, where you have this vast network of sort of distributed resources or data, and you have a mediating technology that makes it really, really simple to transfer things between them. There's no joke. That's literally. I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
To me, that has inspired so many things. You can trace Uber back to that. You can trace all kinds of stuff back to this concept of just massive amount of users and distributing the resources between them.
Yeah, it's still in beta. They announced it in June, so there's still testing going on, and it's got a terrible name. It's called Eden. I'm hoping that's a working title.
That actually sounds quite sinister.
Yeah. Sounds like some sort of eugenics program.
Yeah.
But it's focusing on medical assistance and medical aid. So it would be really, really, really interesting to see how this works out. I think in other versions of this, it's been focused on service providers, charities having control of the app. But in this one, it's kind of focusing on the refugees themselves.
That's the key to it, isn't it? Because, again, going back to the BitTorrent thing, that's really easy to do because you're just divvying up sort of discrete bits of data and sending them to people. Where these apps always struggle is the execution in terms of the offline part of the service. The online part of the service is actually pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah,
it's being able to deliver on that.
This is the problem, isn't it? It's us as tech people saying, we can deliver this perfect tech solution.
Yeah.
But how is it actually going to be delivered? That's where you're saying it's falling down. And we've experienced it with apps we've made.
Yeah.
And, it's not our part. That's the easy bit. We just build an app. It's the making it actually happen. With the people at the other end, especially when there's multiple people. So in this instance, there's potentially 6 medical organisations that are going to run to assistance.
Yeah.
And it's making sure that they're all there online, ready to answer these things. Because it could be potentially that none of them answer, and then it's all ruined. So or they assume somebody else is going to answer it, and it's up to them to now make it happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of balls to keep in the air.
So is it tech for good?
It's tech for good if it works. It's tech for good if it's fulfilled. If not, it's tech for tech's sake. To say we create this fantastic app that allows X, Y, and Z, but if X, Y, and Z doesn't actually happen, then it's not tech for good.
Is that how we define tech for good then?
Increasingly, it's how I define it, because I think it's very, very easy to create a framework that no one uses or a structure that's just completely empty. So tech for good has to extend a little bit further to look at the actual outcome of whatever technology is trying to enable. If it's enabling it in theory but not in practice, I would struggle to classify that as tech for good. It's just like a demo otherwise.
And it's got to focus on actual genuine results. If this works, it reduces costs for aid agencies, who will then be able to provide more aid to more people, and help real life people as well. So
you go to any digital agency in any walk of life, they'll talk about results, what results we will bring to your business. So tech for good kind of has to define itself along the same lines in terms of what will be the beneficial effect on the world rather than how cool the technology is.
What do we feel about intent in terms of tech for good? So what if you make a product that does help people and is successful, but it's a marketing ploy for yourself, do we then class that as tech for good? I'm thinking of, do you remember when Paddy Power pretended to cut something into the rainforest, or Burger King's Pride Burger?
Again, though, it's to do with outcome. So,
Yeah.
so you talking about CSR. So, my view after a long think about this is that although the intention is bad, if the outcome, so back to Ben's measurement, if it is good, if it does good, then do it, go for it.
I think it goes more than that, though. I think there's a balance between outcome and delivery.
Yeah.
So if you claim that your outcome is to, cure cancer, stop people feeling depressed, whatever. A perfect example is Lynx, I think, worked with Calm, it might have been, and they did a whole project where they were looking at, they did a page which was talking about the number of people that were talking about a certain topic, and they were trying to raise awareness about number of people that were committing suicide. But then the whole thing was completely blasted with like Lynx branding, and it was just like overwhelming. So the message was completely lost. So the whole if they made an impact was fantastic, but they so drowned it in their own branding that it was like, I really don't give a shit.
There's probably a distinction to be drawn between something that does good and something that's for good. And I think, and again, CSR is genuinely a good thing, but if you've got a strategic decision to vote 4% of your budget to CSR to mitigate the 96% of the budget which is spent doing profitable activities which may be very damaging, I'm not really sure if you can say that's for good. It seems
No, it's for marketing.
yeah, exactly. It's marketing for good.
Duff.
Or good for marketing. I forget, but anyway, but it's one of those things. Tech for good kind of has to do both things. It has to have the correct intentions and be able to deliver.
But then what about the other thing about intentions, though? What about if somebody had loads of great intentions but it didn't deliver at all?
Yeah, the same thing where I think it's great to have those intentions, but if it's not working, or if it doesn't succeed, and that's really harsh. Like, say, let's take you make something that works, like you were saying, Ben, that doesn't have the intention but actually works and delivers results. But let's take Burger King. No, let's take Paddy Power with the thing cutting into the rainforest. Okay, it raised a lot of awareness. I think money was sent to Save the Rainforest. Is that a charity? Save the Rainforest.
Yeah,
it feels like it could be. Is great, but Paddy Power Gambling Company, they are fundamentally an evil organisation. You and I have worked with them with gambling companies. They're the worst people imaginable. So the money that they will have made for themselves to keep going their horrendous roller coaster and train of destruction and death and mayhem will have eclipsed the money they've raised for the rainforest. So it'd be hard to call that tech for good, although raising money for the rainforest is good.
Tech for good is tough, isn't it? You've got to kind of do something for the right reasons and execute it well enough for it to be worthwhile the investment.
So I'm more harsh on that. I'm less harsh on you've had a really good idea with the right intentions, but it's not been successful.
Yeah, but what about the ones that are just literally showpieces and win all the awards? Surely the awards for Tech for Good should be won by tech doing good rather than a concept.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. So I'm less angry about those. To say I'm angry about any of them is harsh, but I agree. I think Tech for Good needs to meet both measures. I think that it needs to be the motivation, the heart of it needs to be right.
Yeah, we've been working on creating some guiding principles for what is Tech for Good. It's really, really hard, but we've been working with some really big organisations. So, Comic Relief funds a lot of Tech for Good projects, and there are a couple of other organisations that have been helping us that just do Tech for Good work, and they include things like, I won't read them all out because it's not even finished yet, it's a work in progress, but the stuff we're thinking about is refusing to do bad work, which means turning down. So if somebody comes to you and said, will you make this app? People who work in Tech for Good should have the responsibility to say that app will not work or help or do the outcome that you think it will. So we're going to turn that down. We're not going to. We might get paid $60,000 for it, but we're going to turn it down because the outcome is not Tech for Good. And things like being driven by making the world better in both intent and action, which is what we've all talked about. And then we've got solve a problem that exists by putting users and their benefit at the heart of your objectives. We're working on it. It's hard though.
I think
Tech for Good is a massive struggle. This podcast admirably demonstrates it's not easy. And even when you try really hard, it sometimes just falls flat on its face. But Tech for Good keeps, like Rocky, keeps getting back up again.
We always bring it back to the movies. I think heart is the key word there. Like, we all know each other quite well now. And if you just discuss why we all work for the same company, all work for Reason Digital, why do we work there? Everyone's story is reasonably similar, which is what we put out into the world matters, and we want to make sure that it is a good thing.
That's not the story I heard.
Well,
I heard you killed a man.
well, look, we all make mistakes in the heat of the moment, and I'm working really hard to undo that. But I think that drive is really important, and I think that's important in terms of the intention for why we do things. But if that intention is really strong, it should lead to also roll into the fact that it's a successful thing, because you really care that if it's a client thing that you invest in the money, their money, which is for good, in a wise thing. And I know we've had some frank discussions as well about some of the things that we want to make and we've made, which is it's a responsibility that the thing that we make works. It is, and that we push it properly. It's not just a marketing ploy. Because if you come up with a digital solution for a real problem, and you don't push it to roll it out to as many people as possible, if that problem still exists, it's on us. And it's on you if you've made a product and it is just a marketing ploy. If you come up with something which can help the refugee crisis and you're getting great press for it, but you're not rolling it out, the next time you read about a kid washed up on a beach, it's not all on you, but could you have helped? And you've not been bothered to do that. Or you could help the homeless, and every time you walk past a homeless guy, it's on you if you've got a solution. But hey, you got a Tech for Good award, or you're nominated for a D&AD pencil, or you get to wear a tux every now and then. It matters that you put that into action.
Yeah, and also there's money that's spent on these things, and that's money that could have gone somewhere that would have actually helped someone. It could have been something really basic as buying a food parcel or providing some medicine. But if you spent it on an idea that then you've basically lost interest with, or maybe you didn't do the marketing because you didn't think you'd need to because it was such a great idea.
Yeah.
Because, of course, everyone's going to use it because you've not bothered to actually do the initial research, then...
All right, Greg.
It always falls down at the
Who are you
start of
talking
research,
about?
Steve.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was seeing the red mist there. I was losing it. I'm going to throw out a question here that's going to mess around with you all. So, which would you choose? A plucky startup who haven't really done the research, but their heart is in the right place and it doesn't go anywhere? Or a big organisation who raise a lot of awareness, but it's all about marketing?
When you say choose, what are we choosing? Are we choosing to work for them or to
We're picking
back
them to market
or
our product, I think.
to market our
Tech
product?
for Good product.
Or which, if you could stop one of them happening, which would it be?
That's the
The
different
annoying
question.
little plucky startup that doesn't know what they're doing.
They're the ones I would stop.
Yeah,
No, I wouldn't stop
I'm
them.
like,
They're the ones I would try and guide.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
there a third choice? It's
Yeah.
sort of just like
Yeah.
train the
Yeah.
plucky startup in
Yeah.
what research is and how to do stuff properly.
But the other question, which of those two do I admire the most? It's the plucky startup, that because they don't know better.
No, but wait. One day, far, far away, the big company was a plucky, stupid startup who didn't know what they're doing.
True, but what I mean is that there's the way that Greg's framed it, I guess, there's a cynicism with the big thing that they know what they could do and they're just making a market by when they could do good, where the plucky little startup are just stupid and haven't learned. I admire them a little bit more because their intentions, right, just don't know what they're doing.
But at the same time, you can't discount the big arseholes who are doing it for a marketing ploy because they still have a good impact.
to me, it's two questions. So if you can click your fingers and stop one, it's probably for me, stop the plucky startup because they will have less effect.
Yeah.
But if you can work with one,
Yeah, well, this
It's going to
is-
be the plucky
yeah.
startup.
yeah. I mean, I've explained that. Like, if you have to stop the one that's having less effect because that's your responsibility. But if you're going to work with one, probably choose to work with someone who's new and naive and innovative, but has the potential to change more stuff than someone who's just running through a CSR program. So I'd work with the plucky startup, but if I had to choose who has more effect at the moment right now, it probably is the CSR. So yeah, that's Tech for Good in a nutshell.
But what we'd probably say then is neither of those would fall under Tech for Good, I guess.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
because if we go back to the principles,
Yeah.
they're not doing
You
tech
need
right.
both of those things.
Yeah.
God,
Okay.
Tech for Good is hard.
It's so
Did
hard.
we just solve that and the refugee crisis all in one sitting?
We've sorted it.
When's your next session, Greg?
So, rant of the month. And this time it's about the concept of future-proofing in technology. And I know that this is kind of my segment because this is what I do. But does anyone want to start on their thoughts first?
I was suggesting that you only rant once a month.
Yeah, all right, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's my favourite hobby.
It's yeah.
Go on.
You
but
even made a Venn diagram of it.
did I? I
Yeah,
remember
you
that.
made it.
Call
It was
things
one
that Bex-
circle.
Yeah, things that Bex rants about.
Everything. I think somebody, I know, no, but before I go on to my actual rant of the month, I'm going to rant about people not allowing me to rant. People are always like, oh, why are you so angry about everything? Why do you hate everything, Bex?
You literally have a segment in a podcast. How do we not let you rant?
No, but it's
This whole
fine.
thing is a sham. It's all
There's
just
not
so
enough
you
rants
can
in the
rant.
segment.
No, but the point of me ranting, I think it's really important that
these
people need to get angry about stuff, because if we weren't all
Who are
angry,
these people?
and we are all angry, all of you people are
I'm
angry,
furious.
so don't even.
When we were doing the
You're
branding
all
for Tech for
angry.
Good, you wanted it to be called the Rant Podcast, and we had to
Didn't.
pretend we
Rant.
care about Tech for
This-
Good just to let you
This
rant.
is literally a lie. But if
Never
we
lie.
didn't get angry about stuff, nothing would get changed. Because if we didn't see things and go, that's wrong and rubbish, and we
True.
can make it better, then nothing would get better. So shut up, ranting's good. Leave
you
me
just
alone.
rant about ranting. Is this like
Maybe.
Inception levels of rant?
Oh, it's got a bit meta.
That's got matter.
No, so go
Future-proof.
on. Future-proofing. Anyone got anything to say about it?
I think phrasing it as a concept gives it more credit than it deserves. It's a term.
Oh, sorry.
I think when anyone says, "Hey, I'm going to future-proof your website," I want to punch them in the neck.
Did they say it like that?
They
Like
do
a
it like
porn
that.
star?
Hey, I'm going to future-proof the hell out of your website, and then I punch them.
Right, I'm
square in
gonna
the neck.
temper this. I think when a charity comes to us and say the problem with the last website was it wasn't very future-proof, we'd like you to make a more future-proof website for us. The thinking in terms of we moved into an office 2 years ago, it's still here, the walls are still there, the floors are still there, you know, the water's gone, that does happen, but still we can get it fixed. So the thinking about the website is a massive investment. The thinking about it is something that should last, and it should have a structure that means it can be upgraded and changed, but with maintenance rather than a complete rework every 3 years.
I
So
agree.
that's the kind of the backdrop to.
Yeah, and my problem isn't necessarily on the same vein as that. So
Okay, fine.
well, no, it kind of
No,
it
yeah.
is in a way. I think that the problem is that people in the industry keep saying we can future-proof this.
And they can't.
We can future-proof this, and that makes clients think that
Yeah.
they'll have a 10-year website.
Yeah.
When we've all seen the Space Jam website, right? So you can't future-proof
We'll just
a
hold on a
website.
second. I've seen Space Jam, the
Space Jam.
Disney film.
Yeah, it's
I'm
still.
just going to call it up. But while I call it up, I agree. Yeah, my issue, just to clarify, I do want to punch clients in the neck occasionally, but not because of this. Yeah, it's not on the client. It's on a digital agency that looks a client in the eye and lies to them and says we're going to future-proof your website. They know it's not true when they say it, and they're misleading the client. And it's so that the client will go, yeah, we'll go with you, we'll give you our money, and that agency expects them to come back in 3 years for a redesign.
It's exactly the same as when you buy a product that has a 10-year warranty, because a warranty only works if you can prove that it's broken because it wasn't designed or built properly. After 1 year, they can quite easily explain that it was from usage. And the whole point of that is because you can't build a product that will last a lifetime. We're not building blooming pans out of concrete or anything like that. These things, after a period of time of usage and people sitting on them, pushing them, using them, turning them on and off, they're not going to last. And they get tired and worn, and, you know, it's exactly the same with websites.
Yeah, Ben's point is right that when we make websites for clients, we need to understand, particularly the sector that we work in, they're not going to have money for a full redesign every few years. So we need to make sure it's scalable and flexible, and that as they grow as organisations, the website can enable them to do that and serve their needs. So that's true that you need to design. We're looking at the Space
I'm
Jam
looking at the
website
Space
as
Jam
well.
website, which
It's
is
amazing.
It's as perfect now as it ever was. Or
beautiful.
ever
I
would
think
be.
that's coming back, although I've been saying this for 5 years now. I think all websites are now going to look like it's 1990.
We're in
It
the
loads incredibly quickly.
We are in the process of making a Tech for Good website, and now we have all the inspiration we need. But it's the term future-proof is that the clients will expect, because you're literally saying it's
bullshit,
fine
isn't
for
it?
the
Yeah,
future.
It's literally, the phrase within itself is absolute bullshit. It's a lie within it. I agree with that.
And we know it when we say it. That's the thing
Yeah.
as well. We know what we're doing. It's not a slip of tongue. It's not that the agencies use jargon all the time that clients don't understand. You have to remember, that you don't understand what that means. We know what that means, and we know what they think it means. And when designers say we're going to future-proof the website, we know we're not doing that, but we know that they think we are, and they're going to give us money for it. That's why I think it angers us so much.
Yeah, there's an element of making a website that will last for slightly longer than if you did it a different way.
Yeah.
But it's not a thing really. And it's a little bit like digital transformation. The only reason you need to digitally transform is because you didn't keep up to date anyway. But it's the fact that we don't communicate that with people. Like, you don't just buy a car. You buy a car and you have MOTs and services and change the tyres. And eventually it stops working and you buy a new car. It's like the same as a website. And nobody communicates that to a vast amount of people.
Bex, how far could the Space Jam website go with really, really engaging... if we made Content King on the Space Jam website?
All right, the Space Jam website might have been a bad example because I think it's
so
the
good.
best website in the world, despite being from 1999. That was definitely future-proof.
You can download a screensaver.
I mean, it was about space, though, so that's the future.
The
So-
Space Jam website is basically kind of like one of those concrete monstrosities that gets
Yes.
like covered by
It's a
the
Buick.
National
It's,
Trust.
And
you're like, oh, you're not.
Grade 3 listed website.
Yeah, it's grade 3 listed website where it's so hideous, it's beautiful.
You literally can't change the CSS without like 17 forms and an application to the government.
Are you saying this is like brutalism? But
Yeah, it's
digital
like-
brutalism.
But with more stars.
Digital brutalism.
Whoa.
Hold on, is the URL available?
what?
Hold on,
It's like Park Hill Flats in Sheffield.
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh,
everyone's like, they were hideous.
It's a
and they're
stupid
like,
sideways
but the
flat that
concrete
doesn't work,
Yeah,
but yeah.
The concrete, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Let's keep it. Which, you could try and design something like that, but if you actually need your website to serve a function, then you're pretty much screwed. If it's just there for people to look at and go, oh, it's so cool, then you can't do that.
Yeah, I doubt you'd ever be able to make some sort of payment method. You'd be able to pay for something through the Space Jam website.
It does advertise a CD that's available at $8.99 though.
Oh,
so-
try and buy it. I've got that CD.
Can we cut the bit where I said digital brutalism because all of the domain names are available and I'm going to
Buy them
all,
now.
and
This is not going out for another few days.
This is now going to be
Well,
a thing.
the best case scenario, another few days.
Paul, when's it going out?
Tonight.
Sunday. I've got time to buy them because digital brutalism. Actually, there's a book there. And Ian looks happy and healthy. I saw him eat some fruit, didn't I, Ian?
He's
You ate
actually
some
got
fruit?
full colour.
Yeah, he has gone full
I think
colour.
he's been outside.
You delivered
He's-
a speech at a wedding, like you were a
He's
member
been
of society.
monochrome.
He
He's
went-
been
Sorry,
monochrome
Paul.
for years.
Yeah.
Should we wrap up? Because
I
I
think
want
we
to find
are.
out how that went.
I think we are at the end of the podcast
Yeah,
now.
it feels like
I think
it.
it's approached a natural end there, so I will finish the podcast. Thank you for listening. Maybe you can review us on iTunes if that's okay. Thank you very much to the super duper Reason Digital. Otherwise, this would not happen. We're done. I mean, I guess as usual, send complaints to us on Twitter. That's at Tech for Good Manchester. We also have a Periscope, a Snapchat.
Tech for Good is a Snapchat.
Yeah, so you can hang out with us there if you like. That's it. See you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.